together. And I realize that, and I'm very cognizant of it, and that's why it's important to have these conversations about what's going to make us our absolute best and our strongest. First, I want to do some quick introduction of the aldermen that are here and our clerk. I'll start with the city clerk. She's in the back. Leslie Trammell, she just stand up and wave so everybody can see you. That's our city clerk. Some of you may have seen old lady McDowell in the hallway. My joke is that she's older lady do too much. But it's a good thing, let me tell you. Okay, and then you have the township level, you have the county, you have the state, and you have the federal government. And then you have the branches of government. And we're just a smaller branch of what that would be in federal government. You know, the aldermen serve as the Congress, so to speak, and I don't want to say I'm the president, I might get in trouble. But it's in that format. And so that's how things are done. And what they are on this body is legislators and lawmakers. And I just think that what we're going to talk about is the importance of the future of what we've done thus far as a community and what I'm believing. And I think that it's going to be really ultimately up to you all of what we need to do to make sure our government is good and strong in the future. So, the only thing that I did not do today for you all that I will do next time is, okay, she can sit up here, then just make sure I don't forget to acknowledge her as well. Are you going to leave some things? Is that what you're going to do? Or? Okay, I'll let you get in the middle of my agenda here. Come on.
You want me to do it?
Did you have something you were going to pass out? I know anytime there's something to deal with taxes, you'll let me interrupt.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, how are you? Okay, were you going to leave some things with us? Or
yes.
You were. Okay.
So,
can you introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and all that?
Cassandra Elston, I'm the assessor for Thornton Township. Also, I am the president on the Southwest Mosquito Abatement Board, and that's a service that you do pay for, not much. Some pay as low as $3.24 for the year, but I have pamphlets here. I'm trying to get information to get out to the public so they'll know where their tax dollars are going to. Okay. So I want to bring that here for you guys today.
Good. Okay. All right.
Also, today is my first day. Happy birthday! First day. Oh, program. Hey, these birthdays come too fast. Also, I'm having a free income tax return program for seniors 65 years of age or over with a household income of $65,000 or less. The office is located at 1463 Ring Road in Calumet City, and we service our seniors on Saturdays and Sundays from 10 to 11. So there's, 10 to 1. There's a phone number on here, so you have to call and make an appointment. So this is for township residents, okay? So I want to bring that to you, and also if you didn't know, the tax bills again are going to go out late for the first time in century, and I don't know how long, the first installment. So instead of you guys being back to back, we fought with the legislators to try to give the taxpayers an extra 30 days to put the money together for the first installment. So instead of that first installment being due March 1st, it will be due April 1st. And once the exemptions go out, if it's okay with the mayor, we can come back and help you guys with your exemptions if you need any help. And that's it.
That's it? Okay. All right. Now, does everybody know who our Bremen Township assessor is? No? Willie Jones over here at the building next door. So if you have your taxes, you need some help with trying to get them appealed, they can help. And if you live on the east side, you would see Ms. Sandra at her office at Thornton Township. And so they will help you along with those appeals for your taxes, okay? All right, you can leave those out for the ladies and they'll pass by. I do want to acknowledge another elected official, couple that I saw Lady Hampton come in. Oh, Lady Hampton is here from the First Ward. And then I seen Carolyn Carter, the clerk for Bremen Township, and I'm not sure if I have any other officials here, but if I see him, I want to always mention so you can talk to him. She can direct you with some things with Bremen Township government. Now, the reason why I wanted to let you know about who your officials are is because after this meeting, well, what I was going to say before that, I was saying one of the things I didn't do is get something for you to write on. Next time I'll make sure that, so if you need a pen, maybe I can get one of the assistants to go get a pen, paper, whatever. We can try and let one of them to know to get you something to write on, to make a note or something. In the future, I'll make sure you get something. But you may have a question or something later for your alderperson, and we'll try and reserve some time afterward. Doesn't mean that after this hour that we're not going to be available to talk with you and and take some time about things in your ward specifically. So on the what I'd like to do is give you a few updates about what we have going on. First, in the city, one of the things that we're heading towards our budget time, and I would have to tell you that, again, that's something you may want to do after the meeting today, even again, if you have some concerns about trees or sidewalks or the streets. We want to try and take some attention to that. I know that we're doing some things that with police and fire, we're still working on things with that, and public works. How many of you have seen the couple of buildings that we're going to try and let you get into this year down the street on Kedzie? Have you seen the new buildings for public works? Those are special projects buildings, one of them, and we're being able to expand the operation no different than police or fire. One of the things that we are working on this year is a plan for a new police station. And so that's something that we're going to do on the south side of the court building, and we hope to have some renditions for you about that also. So we've got some things that are exciting ahead. The big thing, I'll answer it, and then we can talk about it a little later as well, and then I can get into some of the subject matter today. Everybody wants to know whether we're going to do a rebate, or did you all care about that or not? Oh, yeah. I just thought I'd check. Okay. I did. Well, I did talk to the treasurer and the finance department, Belinda Richardson and Christina Fisher, our McClurkin, and they're indicating that all seems to be heading that way to where we can do another rebate this year. So that's good news. That's good news, and I don't know how many of you, some of you may have heard in some of the community meetings that we have, in giving you an update. How many are familiar with the East Side Block Club? Just by show of hands, a few of you. What about the West Side Block Club? You familiar? Okay. Well, a lot of times we wind up with, and I know some of you here in this room are familiar with it. A lot of times we wind up with a lot of people coming to those meetings, and the council meeting is sometimes about 30 minutes anyway, because we really get some things done, and we get in and we get out. But those meetings are typically almost like what we're doing now, and they're pretty robust, and there's a lot of people there, and we're able to really tackle a lot of things that are going on in the community. So we want to encourage you on the first Monday of the month at King Park Banquet Hall. That's where we meet, and then we meet at the VFW on the first Tuesday of the month, and this is at 6 o'clock for both. And so one of the things I was going to mention in an update is that how many of you have heard that we went through some things with, for the first time probably in decades, we went through getting a new bond rating. How many of you have heard about that? Well, bond ratings, when they're an improvement to your bond rating, that's an improvement to your credit rating, and it really shows more the ability that you have the ability to pay your bills. And that's something that, you know, especially in times like this where the county money is coming in slow the way that it comes in, that we're in a good position where, you know, we're not going to say we're not worried about anything at all, but, you know, we're not troubled by it, you know, because we surplus where we should, and we're doing good stewardship about what our money is. So that's important. So let me see what else I had, and we'll circle back, like I said, to at the end make sure that if you have some specific questions, you can go to your alderman, and certainly I'll be available as well. So, you know, I was going to have one of the attorneys to come out with me today, but I said, well, you know what, I can handle this today, and we'll definitely have some bigger forums to talk about the interest of the future of the form of government for Markham. And there's, again, some of the things that were passed out give some indicators about what form of government is. Markham has, in its history, typically has had a, well, it's for the most part been a mayor automatic form of government. That's what we are currently. At one point, we had a village president, and we had a manager form of government, and that was sometime in the 60s where we had that. And then we changed and went back to the form that we have now. I'm just trying to keep it a little simple to give a little bit of background to it. And most of what I passed out to some of you, there's the big rationale for the thought of changing the way government runs is because of what the success could be for doing that. And if we're reasonable people in government in terms of what we're stewarding and how we see what other municipalities are doing and what their successes are, is something that we thought that we should visit. And I think that if, again, as well as I believe some things are going, doesn't mean everything is right and perfect, then we should add to that and try to make sure that we sustain that even further to the future. You know, one of the things that we're cognizant of is that all of us aren't going to be here at some point. That happens to everybody. But what do you do about, are we just responsible for today, or are we just responsible for tomorrow as well? And so that's really what we're talking about when we're looking at the structure of our government and how it's positioned. You know, one of the things that I want to reference, and I'll have to get my glasses to do that, because I made a couple of notes in comparison. First of all, from some of what I'm talking about with form of government, before I just mention that little bit of a tidbit, how many of you actually knew that? Just by a show of hands. Some of you know what these forms of government are, right? Okay, and I think that, you know, I can tell you that the good portion of our neighbors for what I'm talking about today are pretty much running their governments as such. And again, one of the biggest things that, you know, I've noticed and I've seen, you know, some people fight for certain parts or kinds of government that might be reasonably convenient to them. One of the things that I like about being very honest, one of the things that I've said, some people have said to me, because in this form of government, let me just start off to maybe get your attention. I believe, in my opinion, I believe, well, because I'm basically serving as your manager. That's a problem to me. I feel that that's a problem. Now, do I have reasonable bandwidth today to do it? Absolutely. Do I have bandwidth to do it tomorrow? No. And it's not really proper for me to continue to do it. We should have professional people that went to school to run your government. Shouldn't be somebody you know, that just gave a good barbecue and you elected. I'm just being real about it. I have entirely, let's put it out there, I have entirely too much power and make too much money for this position. That's just how it is. But that is not how it should be. So that's what, you know, this is what's driving me to this. I said this probably almost day one that we didn't need a full-time mayor. But I'll tell you what, had I said it too long and too loud and too early, you would have never elected me. Because there wouldn't have been any real understanding for it. I've been in government for over 50 years. So I'm not trying to figure anything out. I'm not beside myself when I say it, but I should know where the bathroom is, because I've been here. And so in saying that, I'm only trying to take an approach that other successful governments have done in trying to put a council manager form of government in place. And we think about this as we go into the summer and to the end of the year, and try and think about what that all means. So what I'll do, I'll definitely want to entertain some general questions, and it'd probably be better that I take some of the questions that I do without you even having any real in-depth reading of this material. Because then, one of the things, let me put something else out there that we'll talk about, that what this does, the benefits of it, as you read some of this material that was passed out, do you know one of the things that going to this typical form of government would do for, it would do for us, but it's already doing it for a lot of other communities. It combats corruption. That's what it does. It puts all of us up here in a position of making us do our jobs in terms of being legislators and policymakers, opposed to having political ways that we're going to try and interject it into City Hall or Village Hall. And that's really what's important, is that you're being serviced and getting service almost reasonably like a business, but there's no political nonsense tied to it by who got elected. Well, I don't like that person, I'm not going to do that for him. Well, that happens. I'd like to say it's not happening here, because I don't believe any of these people on the dais are that way. But it happens all over the place. And definitely in these forms of government, it occurs. Now, I won't take that away from being how I've been in politics long enough to know how these things work too. It doesn't mean, I know that the old timers, and I'm looking at Mr. Gonti in the back, I'm gonna call him an old timer because his father was on the council that they used to say, well, I'm gonna take care of you, but you're probably at the end of the line. That's how they do you, but you know, that's how they do it in government, the old fashioned way. But that was one, you know, it roots out anything that's going to be unethical. It can promote, make more, you know, one of the, if anybody knows me well enough, a buzzword for me in a room, if I'm talking with maybe other politicians, and if I'm even talking with constituents, I have to be honest, I'm gonna say it for the sake of business today, but if I hear somebody yelling, oh, transparent this, transparent that, that's almost a buzzword for nonsense to me. You know, because everybody says it. You hear everybody saying, well, we're not being transparent this and transparent that. Well, I found me some other words to say, because I don't even want to say that. Because you just hear it to where it means nothing. You know, and trying to sound like you know what you're talking about. And I'm not going to say I do know everything I'm talking about. I do the best I can. And that's what I think that might make me worth any salt, is that I'll tell you that I don't know something. I'm not afraid to tell you I don't, but I certainly will figure it out. Now, I didn't say I was here for 50 years because I knew it all. I probably just survived, probably like most of them. But I also have always enjoyed and have a passion for this. So that's a little, some people probably wonder why some things don't get to me the way it might get to others. I'm bothered by things like other people are, but I'm passionate about what happens here. And I'm concerned and I care about what happens. And anybody that has been close to me enough to know that. Now, I'm also not going to take a lot of foolishness either. And the more I'm in office, the less of it I'm going to deal with. Because by now, we should have all caught up with each other. So don't come and tell me some crazy stuff upstairs and think that even you're going to come in here, march in here, and try and make Markham out to be something it's not. I'm going to run you out of here. That's what you elected me to do, to have some backbone and some nerve to do it, and I will. And I'm past all of the stuff that used to go on. I paid my dues here, as they used to say, Mr. Gonti. And I'm saying that because his father knew what all that kind of meant. And that's really what this is about, is trying to look into the future about what would make government better and strong. There are some things that I'll try to point out here, and then I'm going to open it up to you all for some questions about form of government. Let me just say how this works. There's one flyer that went out that talks about council manager form of government. And then it's got, on one of the pages, it says it's got you, the voters. Then it's got the governing body, which would be us, who run government. And then it has the manager. And then that manager is the one who runs the day-to-day operation. You know, one of the analogies that I read out of this information was it's almost like us being a board of directors, and then we have a chairman of the board, and we make the manager the CEO to run our operation for us. And you look at successful businesses that run companies and big companies that run, and they run in that model, and the world's running that way. And we have a lot of neighbors. You know, I often don't like to tell constituents, especially if they come up here mad about something, they want you to fix something. You're trying to tell them, I'm trying to conduct business for you. Well, that's almost like impersonal to them. It's like, how could you say, this, you know, this is personal, you talk about business with me. Well, this is basically business. And if we don't run it as such, the reason why, again, why we've been reasonably successful is because, and you know, for whatever this is worth too, doesn't mean obviously I'm going to declare where I'm at because I don't want to get ran out of town on this either, but I'm a Democrat that thinks independent. And I oftentimes run this government pretty conservative. So that's a mixture of how success is done anyway. And most of you, if you go to your house, you are pretty conservative where you're at too. Yes. And often a lot of tough stuff that goes on in the communities that we hear everywhere else, we don't want half of that stuff here. And I really feel bad sometimes that we didn't start doing what we're doing earlier. That's probably, if I come into work, sometimes I get bothered by it. It's like, man, this did not have to go the way it did. We didn't have, I'm looking at different residents that have been here for years, and what's the old saying for some of us? We watch it go from sugar to what? Don't say it. Don't say it. But we did. And then I think about all the residents that moved out of town and got tired of waiting for it to turn around. And then there's us that stuck around to try to make it do. That's why it's important, and that's why this is so serious, is to not just look at today, but to look at tomorrow. We have, right now, the way that the council has allowed me some longitude, I have a city administrator. In the way that we're still lopsided because I'm still considered the manager and he's almost basically my assistant manager, which that's what happens in other governments. You'll have it that way. But we really need to try to think, about getting this in real order. And it takes us taking some time to talk to you about, why we have these conversations and why it's important. Everybody in here has got something in their mind that for them to be here today that makes Markham tick to them. There's something that we all think about that we like here, want here, or want to see here, want to believe in. And there's some people here that don't believe anything here. Now, there's some people here now that may not believe nothing here. You can't leave them out. I have to, because we have to upstairs sometimes listen to the determined and the delusional. Listen to all of them. How come I can't do that in Markham? Because you can't do it 3 towns over and you think you can do it here? What makes you believe you could do that here? And it's just taking time for a lot of people to say, well, we didn't used to have to do it that way. Last time I came up here, well, when was that, by the way? Because I haven't seen you. And I've been around here a long time. And this is what we need to get away from. We need to be able to let our council people do real work about policies that we want and let somebody professionally run our government. I went to school to be a fire chief, and I was pretty decent at it. Not say I ran away with anything, but I was pretty decent at it in a couple different towns in my career. But I believe by being in government, it lended itself for me to do this now. But this isn't how it should be. We at some point need to try and consider professional management. So let me do this, and then it may draw some other questions. So I'd like to entertain some questions, but could you ask her to give me some water? My mouth is kind of dry. This coffee's not doing it. Is everybody's coffee okay?
Yes.
I had to do my own, so. But it's still not getting the dryness out of my mouth. Anybody got a question so far? Question or thought? In the back, yes.
Okay, so you're saying a professional manager team, is that outside coming in, or what does the professional manager team consist of?
So it would be a team. It would be the voters would elect us as mayor, alderman, and then the structure of government would allow the board, which would be us, to screen for a professional manager. The manager could have been, it's just like I know Oak Forest just got a new manager that was, I think he was somewhere up northwest suburbs. And they screened him and a few other candidates. I think they had their manager left out, I guess, or retired, I believe. And you screen for them, and they're usually in, it's just like currently now, our administrator here is tied to a management group, and they have groups just like the Intercounty Management Association. But managers are all over, and we would screen screen one that would be pertinent for doing business for us, and that person would apply, and they bring their skill set, and we would review it, and then the board would have to vote upon that. So it wouldn't just be the mayor decides who the manager is. That would have to be a majority of the board to decide that that person is a good fit for running our government. That's how the other communities do it. Yes?
If this is a consideration for the council, what is your timeline for implementation?
Well, I want to take this summer and talk about it on Saturday mornings. I don't want to just talk about this every Saturday morning because some of you got some other stuff you want to talk about. But this is a very big topic and subject because it's going to shift. Some of us might not even notice it, but the timeline would be hopefully by the fall to see if we can get a referendum valid and see if we can do it then. Yes.
So what would the duties and responsibilities of the manager be?
That the duties and responsibility would be to run the day-to-day operations of the government, which would be, managing police and fire efforts, working with the finance department, working with development and developers and anything in that. Police, fire, public works, the day-to-day operations, water department, building department, everything that operates and functions the city.
And then they would make recommendations to the alderman, which would be the board.
100%.
And then, policies, procedures, and things like that.
In fact, that would be one of the big things that that person would need to do is let us know where we need to continue to make sure that we have good policy and legislation in the back.
Yes, what you're talking about here, will that be filled by a Markham resident or will it be filled by an outsider?
I would say it could be by either.
Well, because if you have somebody that's a Markham resident, they're more invested in our community, they're more likely to do what's best for the community.
Well, I wouldn't disagree, but I could also disagree. And I would say this, that's really what becomes our new role. By you electing any of us, we make sure that whoever it is, whatever that skill set is that they take care of our interest.
Are you a Markham resident?
Yes.
You live in Markham, you just don't own a home in Markham and live elsewhere.
No, you want to come over today when we leave?
You want to watch the Daytona 500? You want to walk over and watch it?
I ain't gonna watch that. I don't like racing that much. No. Yeah. That's a good one. I heard that one.
Some people have different interests.
That's true. No, I'm cool. My brother-in-law likes racing, but I don't.
So you have
I got past the need to speak for speed. Who is here?
you have a job
Mike?
description,
Oh.
all this as what you're looking for in this manager, how they qualify, so to speak, education-wise, and all that, or?
Yeah, most of these managers usually have a master's in public administration. Some of them even have law degrees. I mean, some of them are pretty vast in their knowledge. Some of them have heavy backgrounds in business. The manager we have currently has a state background as well as he's got degrees and he's got developmental experience as well and working in government. So you'll find different people that have different strengths that could make us that much stronger. And the other thing that I'll mention, a lot of times it'll be up to us, and as it is with other places, to try to reasonably give them a contract to where it's small, reasonable. But that makes it to where if any of us decide we don't like them, we just can't fire them. That keeps the nonsense out. Then you'll think twice before you go messing with something that, we just decide we want to I don't like how he's doing this. I don't like how he's doing that. Well, it'll take all of us to get rid of them, and it may cost us if we mess with them unnecessarily. Mr. Cooper.
So this contracting to this team, what is going to be the overall cost to the taxpayer on this? I mean, as far as salaries, is it going to be a limit, or are they going to be like Mr. Champion who lives in Lansing? He makes like 100 and some thousand.
He's 160 or so.
So what kind of cost is this going to present to the?
Well, I mean, all of these are marketable salaries. I mean, every salary here is marketable salary. So that's whatever the manager's rate is, that's what we're gonna pay. That's typically how it goes. And, there will be other factors. But you shouldn't feel some more impact. You should, not from what it's gonna cost to pay him, but you should feel an impact of how the community's gonna change.
Well, will that take away from certain sections, say public works or stuff, with that budget, in our budget, ain't that gonna eat up more stuff and less money for stuff in our daily operations?
We're basically doing this right now. So, I mean, we're mimicking this in this kind of government now, but it's backwards. The problem is, I'm the manager, and that should not be. We have to change that. So, if you all are fine with going to the next mayor being the manager, then that's what we're gonna decide. That's what will happen eventually. I'm just saying that, to me, we're doing, because one of the things I got wrote down here, it says Markham is doing well now, but what about later? That's what this is about. It doesn't matter that it's me. I mean, I could just get in the chair and just sit back and say, okay, I'll just make the check and keep doing the work and then just leave when it's time to retire. Well, that would be a huge disservice. Where would my mind or my head be at? All over me. That's what it would be about. And hey, listen, I'm not senile yet, right? So let's do this while we're supposed to do it. And I'm just, I'm joking, but I'm serious. This is the reason why you bring out these tough questions about, and then, so what's in it for me to put myself out here and be honest to say that I got too much power, make too much money? So what's that about? Am I stupid or something? Because I'm telling you that? No, I'm trying to tell you that let's do this right.
Yes.
I mean, I got up just like you did this morning. But it doesn't make it right that you have me as the manager and I got another assistant manager. We're making what we're making, and I'm a retired fire chief. It's ridiculous. That isn't what the successful towns in this country are doing. And so, this is why we failed. We have failed. The only reason why anything worked here is because I said we failed. It pains me to talk that way. Yes.
It's more of a comment that I have. I really appreciate your honesty, your humbleness, your thoughtfulness concerning us as a community, your leadership. I am so tired of corruption and corrupt people, and they don't have any mind towards how it's affecting us, our living, our safety, anything, and the communities around us, like Harvey. I really feel bad for those residents in Harvey. If you ride through Harvey, it's deplorable the way and the hole that they're in. And how in the world are they ever gonna get out of that hole? Over $180-some million. And now the mayor that did, inherited all that, he's deceased. So now they're going to try to find somebody. We're not in that condition or position. So while we still have our faculties, I appreciate you, and bringing this up, and let's do something about it.
Yeah, let's keep, thinking about it. We're going to have more meetings about it, and I appreciate what you said because I love Harvey. I love my neighbors and I love Harvey, and I had my stint to have family in Harvey and all that. But we could have been that.
Yes.
And what the recipe was for some of that was what we're talking about in the form of government as well. Too much power, too much freedom, too much liberalism in who was running and willy-nilly handling money and finance and nepotism and on and on and on, everything else. No rules. Right. So there has to be some structure. Yes, sir.
To extend on what the lady over there said, one of the best things we can do for our community is have a good, solid residential tax base. What is the plan for dealing with all these vacant, dilapidated, falling down, burned out shells of houses that are all around town that nothing is being done to.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
I've got one across the street from me
Well,
that's been
well,
burnt
what's
out
your-
for over
what-
2 years and
what-
they haven't done anything.
what's
There's
your
garbage
address,
laying
sir?
all over the yard.
But don't say that, because we tore down 2 structures this past week. And we're tearing them down every
How many
week.
vacant structures are in town total?
I don't have a clue. Tons of them.
You should have a clue.
Well, but I don't have a clue like that to give you right now. If you want it, I can give it to you. But I got more of a clue than you do. Let me tell you that one.
Yes,
So don't say that, because that's not correct.
that's right.
That's not correct. How many of you in this room, by show of hands, know that we've been tearing down houses around this community? So everywhere.
Not mine.
And so, just because we haven't gotten to you doesn't mean, listen, just tell me where you're at.
3721 Blackstone.
You know about it all? Did we just tear a house down over on what street? On Roseman. We just tore down one over there. Did you know that?
I don't live on Rose Manor, so no, I did not know that.
Okay, but that's why I say, don't say that we're not doing nothing, because, I mean, I agree with you when I'm wrong. And I'm with you when you're right. But you weren't right on that. So,
They're
we'll take care of
obviously-
it.
They're obviously not gonna do anything to the house, because last summer the gas company came by to disconnect the gas service from the house.
Alderman Barron is here. If you're in his ward, just show your hand, Alderman.
Hey, Bill.
Would you make sure we knock that house down? Can we do that? Okay. We'll do it. I mean, we gotta run it through a process. It's not gonna be that quick, but we can do it.
It's not the easiest thing to take somebody's houses down. Number one, we gotta work with pickup. We gotta get them either titled to us, and then we have to apply for a demolition permit, and then we have to have, now the county wants us to have the house inspected for any asbestos. That has to be removed, and for almost 2.5 years, the court that issued demolition permits was closed during the pandemic. And everything was being done, on Zoom. And it just, the process came to a crawl. We've probably got at least right now 30 or 40 houses that are being worked on, but it's not at our speed. We're relying on Cook County, the court system, the assessor's office, the treasurer's office. All this has to come into play. And when it finally trickles down, then we get possession of the property. And if it's fixable, fine, we'll try and get it on the market. If it's not, then we demolish it. And I think Todd has probably, in the last 2 years, demolished close to 20 houses. Now, there's plenty more. There's plenty more. But like I said, the process, we're relying on the way the process is set up. And that process is slow.
So,
Nobody's more
if you
frustrated than me.
get the address, we'll work on it right away. If you let us know about any house that you got a problem with, I can't wait to see it get torn down. I kid you not to mention, I can't wait to see a sidewalk get fixed somewhere, because I'll show up and go look at that. But as soon as I know that house is coming down, all of us are running out. We can't wait either. Let us know. You know, and again, I'll take it on the chin. I mean, I'm not gonna get overly defensive about anything other than when I'm right. Other than that, you know, you got me. If I didn't get it, you know, I'll own it. I'll wear it. So I mean that. Go ahead.
Can you just speak on what's going on with the mall, Canterbury? You know, businesses, trying to attract businesses, and the guy that owns the area or Canterbury, you know, won't allow or will allow certain establishments.
I just probably, like you, have been more dismayed about that shopping center than I can ever remember. Since it was owned by Triland. And this particular owner, you know, it took me a minute or two to realize what, you know, what these companies do when they have property and they don't take care of it, and they're just able to say I'm upside down and just write it off, and then we have to still live with it. And, you know, to really, I told you when I started out, I was a fire chief. So there's some things with government I wasn't as integral with every day. But one thing I would not do, because I didn't know certain things, is I wasn't going to move and do anything. Meaning, because I had a lot of people coming at me for a lot of different things, all for what they want to take from us. So the best thing for me to do until I can figure it out is I'm going to pump the brakes and stop. And when it came to the shopping center, I had to figure out what was going on over there. I think that we've been in a couple of situations with them to try to take pieces of ownership ourselves, which, you know, I also had to investigate that as well, because some municipalities have done that. And I thought that maybe we could run some park programs, some senior programs, have a satellite police station in the shopping center, create additional foot traffic over there, and also have a recreation area for recreation or workout and that kind of thing. If we took some government ownership to it, then we were able to get in the Cook County Commissioner. We got Monica Gordon's office over there to try and, you know, get something started. But they just never really cooperated, and with the rent has always been so high, no one wanted to deal with them. And then in terms of what they would put into money into getting one of the units ready, they really didn't do enough of that either. Where we're at now is we're going back to seeing if we're going to take some control of the center section of the shopping center, to maybe do some of what we're talking about, and then in the process, were you going to chime in or something? I'll let you if you were. I didn't know if you raised your hand on. But then we could, if we're approached by us doing more of the marketing because they're doing none, or they'll just wait till somebody wants to open up a smoke shop, or another gambling casino, or something else that we can just do without. So we've had a lot of different people that want to come in there, but we changed the comprehensive plan to give us more room to be able to be selective. Not tell people totally no, but you can't go there with a bunch of nonsense. Because, and we just don't accept everything. And then we're careful about who we don't accept, you know, as well, because we want to protect their rights, because they have rights, but we still would say to them, you can't go there. We reserve that much of a right, is that we don't want certain things on our boulevard, if you will. That's all it means. So we're not going to tell, you know, we don't want to be discriminate to the point to where we're violating somebody's rights. But we do want to have enough choice for what we would like to see and leave room for it. Last thing I'll say, and I'm going to take you in the back. I don't, you know, until you tell me different and I catch it from you all and the council, I feel like we can do bad by ourselves. So I'll wait until something is, I don't want us to give up prime real estate and for something that's not going to really get us where we need to go. We can wait, and there's reasons why some things have not happened here as well as we've prepared it. Because when I came in office, I believe that if we make it clean enough and safe enough, and we set the stage, someone will come. And they are coming, but it's trickling. Now, there's a reason why I thought it would happen faster, but I know why it's not. There's different dynamics of why people do things to the west and don't come this way at all, or they travel through us to get to the west, or they're not gonna come over 57 to get over to us to shop. They're not necessarily gonna, some people will come from the east to get a couple things at Fairplay. You gotta think about what the market is. So we may take some control or ownership that way because we have a little bit more local understanding of what we may be able to do to make that piece attractive. But we don't want to be in the real estate business. That's not what we should be doing. If we get a manager, he'll know even better than me, but I know that much is that there's certain things we need, it's none of our business other than let business do business, and we should stay out of some of that. But go ahead, sir, in the back.
Okay, kind of answered some of my questions, but you were saying that Markham could take the center part of the mall. Was that where the thrift store used to be at and like that?
Yeah.
And so wouldn't that be a good consideration for us to take ownership of?
I personally think so, from some of the things I mentioned with, partnering. I don't know if we can partner. We're at odds with the Park District, and it is what it is. But it would have been nice to partner with the Park District, and if they don't partner with us, then we wouldn't do something without us. But we would be able to provide programs for us, have a senior location that we don't have, and we'd have space to be able to do even these kind of meetings and not have to do them at City Hall. So there's a lot of things community-wise we can do, as long as it doesn't turn into party central. Because I'm not doing that. I'm not doing all this event space and all this, and that's for somebody else. That's why we don't have all these bars like we had them before, because we've had our share of all the blood and cutting and the shooting and rooting and cooking and whatever. Enough of that. So I'm not busy. That's for the next guy. If they want to do it, it's not going to be this. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So anytime you transfer title to a property, you have to get transfer stamps.
Yes.
As being a recent homeowner or home buyer here in Markham, and recently placing my home in a trust, it's taken a long time to get transfer stamps here. And I'm even seeing complaints from developers and people that are trying to improve properties, but it takes so long to get transfer stamps compared to other villages and cities that they're discouraged. So my question is, why does that take so long compared to most everybody else? And number two, what's going on with the rotary?
Okay. All right. Well, I'll do the first one, which I don't disagree with you with the process. I think the process, I've heard that complaint. I'm looking at two twins here that know all about that over here that get, and the mother who knows too, that we move a little too slow with that.
Just as an example, I filed in October and I just got it in February.
One of the things that it should be getting better. It shouldn't be getting worse, and I think that it really, and that's why we do need other layers of management, and professional management and streamlining and more thinking than me and what we have here.
And the manager could help with something?
Yeah, we're 100%. Yeah, I mean, that's what they really get paid to do. Yeah. And if not, then we're all gonna gang up on him to make sure he gets it done. Well, I'm getting ganged up on anyway, I just referenced but that should not be. We don't want that to be a business model. When we said something about business, well, let's make it better. And I think that I did respond to something right recently, didn't I? Okay.
Yes, you did.
All right. So every once in a while I get it fixed, and he got his house sold, and he called and said, "Hey, it's moving too slow." I said, "Okay, let me get in the middle of it," and that's what a manager should do. But I still think I just got staff up yesterday. I pulled somebody up yesterday from in that department that I never pulled in my office before since they worked here. And I told them that I did not like the fact that something wound up upstairs and you allowed it to get there. And I didn't call her manager, I called her. But the manager had said nothing to me because he knows. But I didn't think that the manager should have been pressured the way he was because it didn't get done, like you're saying. So, we're doing, and I don't mind telling you, I won't tell you the names, but, you know, I mean, I'm just telling you, you're spot on, they're spot on, they've been dealing with me for years, and they've had to go through these walls, and it shouldn't be that way. But that's the only way we get better, is to hear that. Now, the roller rink has gone through, my goodness, I have to say millions of dollars worth of problems. So just when we thought so much was done to it, because there were bonds that really helped try and redo it at one point, there was still other infrastructure that was not complete in that building. You know, and the floor always winds up being the problem because of the other things around it. Well, the floor makes the roller rink. But what happens if the roof is bad, the drainage, if you fix the roof and you don't fix the drainage and on, and different things aren't, you know, successionally, done in succession, then it just all goes right back and it kills the floor. So now we're, again, closer than ever, I believe, to really getting the building in order, but it comes at $600,000 roof, you know, all these different things, and then HVAC issues. The floor in itself is probably a couple $100,000. It's you know, it's a wooden floor that's laid a certain way. The person that's been working on the floor is out of Indiana. They have to travel back and forth with a group. Sometimes they'll stay in hotels to get it done. You know, so it's been a process. And one of the things that we talked about, this is my thinking, I think other people have had some similar thinking, is that skating is still prominent, but it's not as prevalent as it once was. So we talked about making it a multi-entertainment venue. Nothing to really, we would still have matinees for kids. We would still have family nights for families. But then the other things that we would do there would be maybe jazz or gospel music or whatever, something like, whatever you like, but no hip hop and R&B and all that heavy duty off the chain R&B. You know, but something that we could go to in the community, as we discussed in doing in the parks, even with you know, park music or something where you can come bring your chair out and things like that. We wanted to try and make a setting over there to do that. So we've got different ideas, and since we own it and we put all that money into it, that would be the thing to try and make a venue that we can all use, and maybe on the weekend it could be nice, you know, nice entertainment. You go over a Catholic dress and listen to live music, you know. But it's an adult. It's for adults, not something for kids. That's for the old midnight rambles that I went to and some of us went to. No, none of that. So who did I miss? Oh yes, Mike.
I'd like to network with my fellow residents about the subject that impacts all of us, and that's electricity. As you know, they build all these large data farms that accommodate the internet, and now as this artificial intelligence is coming on, that's creating an even larger demand, causing a lot of more data farms to be built, putting an even more strain on the electric grid. These data farms consume a lot of electricity. They're nothing more than buildings with rows and rows of racks of servers consuming electricity. So if ComEd can't support the extra demand on the system, they have to build more generation. And where's that money going to come out of? Us, the electric users. So I have recently come upon something about solar. That is up and coming kind of big nowadays, where in the past it was a bit prohibitive because of the cost of installing it. However, years down the road nowadays, to build the solar panels, there's far more companies doing it. The cost for solar panels have come way down. And now there's a lot of companies out there that are starting to get into residential solar. I've stumbled upon a company that I'm going to go forward with, and They have various incentives, like if you need new windows, if all your windows are ancient, they're wasting electricity. Perhaps you need a new roof. So they're putting out incentives to want to go that way. It's not gonna cost me any money out of my pocket for this solar installation to be installed.
Mike, do this for all of us. I don't know how many of you are truly aware that is correct. It's all over the country in terms of what the demand, and you mentioned water as well. Water is an issue over what's happening with this new technology. So there's a huge demand. We're going to be meeting, my goal is to try to meet every other month during the summer months so we can get back together here. And then we're gonna have some evening sessions with the attorney out with some overhead, and we'll give you some contrast to some of these other communities that are doing things successful with what we talked about government. But we'll have some of that information with AI and data and that on hand. Let me go to this lady.
I would just like to finalize and say I hope that the mayor supports this type of technology going forward. It's also savings on us residents if you go that direction.
I'm supportive to it. Yeah, in the back.
Hi, I've been asking this question for the last 2 years about the plans for making the sidewalks on the west side of Kedzie handicap accessible. And I was told that there were plans in the works. And I did see that there were some repairs done to the cracks in the sidewalk. But the handicap accessibility is still not there. I live right off Kedzie rather, and there have been several people in a little wheelchair, come around type thing.
Right.
Trying to get on the sidewalk, and they can't. They actually have to go into the street. My husband mentioned an incident that happened, I don't know exactly why it happened, where the police was actually out trying to assist someone that was in one of the little, riding, wheelchairs. Are there plans in the?
So let me say this. There is a plan, and I'm not sure that it overlaps to what we should be doing with the county right now. Are you aware of that? I don't know if that's tied into it. So if they're not doing any of that, we will. So we'll get started on something to at least get the bare minimums of corners done.
Exactly.
If we can't do everything in between, we'll start on the corners. Our lady will work on that, okay? And then it'll come down Kedzie. So it'll come from the library all the way down here. So we can at least get the corners done for accessibility if we can't do, if it's, so we're actually going back anyway to a lot of places. We've taken trees down this year and for sidewalks that buckled. If anybody noticed how the east side was done, all Lady Hampton, all Lady McDowell were involved, at least how we got to where you could see clear through. Nothing's over the street on the east side. But now we gotta go back to bad trees and try and, take the tree out and then repair the sidewalk. But we'll work on that on Kedzie. So all Lady McDowell's got the south end where you're at, then it goes down to Alderman Bertrand to the north, and we'll start working on those corners. Just don't let me forget. I'm sure you all want. That's why you see I did it. Don't let me forget. They won't. They won't. Who had their hand up? Yes.
I'm not knowing how much it affects our town, but the issue of coyotes, I have them in my yard. I have them walking down the street, and sometimes it impacts of 3 to 4, not just one. And so it's scary when I walk out of my home. I'm looking around, and they see, I don't know if they will come at me, but if they're in a pack, they'll come. Okay. What recourse do we have?
Let me look into that. And I'll get a hold of you myself, and I'll make sure I make the information available. I'm sure if by show of hands and mine will go up, that concerns me too. I mean, it really, I go in my backyard and I'm like thinking I'm crossing traffic because I don't know if, you know, I'm looking like that anyway, but you're right. I'll find out what we can do.
I'm sorry, because we're just standing right there. We're speaking.
Ms. Maxine, she's over in Barrington. Yeah. Okay. Yes, in the back.
A twofold question, going back to the manager, it would be more of an operations manager, correct?
Correct.
And would that person be a employee of Markham, or would they be a contractor?
He'd be an employee.
Be an employee?
Yes.
And then also, are you gonna post it on the website, like for people to apply? So whether they're a Markham resident or anybody?
Sure.
It's about the qualifications that's needed to
100%.
apply for the position?
Yes.
Okay.
That would be wide open, whether you live here or live somewhere else. We definitely would do it that way. Mr. Ganti.
First of all, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the job you're doing. I think you're doing a fantastic job.
You can blame your dad.
And number two, now how did we get there? Would it take an ordinance or a referendum?
It's going to take a referendum. That's the reason why I like talking about it with you. You are the voters. You know, and then if we don't tell you what it's about, it's like, I'm not doing that. That's going to run my taxes up. Because that's the first thing anybody thinks. You know, I never do, but it's normal to think that way because government will make you feel that way. It's like, well, what is this going to cost me this time? You know, especially after you get retired. It's like, I'm not spending my money on that. I mean, I know when I see the school situation and the tax bill for schools, we don't go to enough school board meetings, folks. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm telling you honestly. I'm going to get a graph up here, on this up here, where you can see that a chunk of your money goes into those schools, and they are not doing everything they need to do. You know, all this started out years ago about how much we love our babies and our children and this and that. And now they're gone, and I'm telling you, we're in a different era, and some of the way that's managed, we get more scrutiny here than they get, and they need a bunch of oversight. So we need to meet over the summer months, get more information, let's talk to each other, ask questions like this lady did about who could it be, who, you know, what would be the qualifications, things like that. So it's posted and we can know what more information we want about making professional government. Because I'm telling you, one of the things that we'll talk about more is which government, you know Orland's a manager, form of government. You know Tinley's a manager, form of government. Oak Forest. Hazelcrest is a manager. Flossmoor's a manager. I mean, just pick a town, they're managers. They don't have these mayor form of governments where, you know that the guy who got elected is, yeah, I'm running it. I'm moving. That makes me want to go. I can't do that. I don't want to live like that. I want somebody that's going to take care of us. I went to school. A lot of us went to as much school as we can get to. And that's what we would appreciate if somebody would handle us that way in the future. Referendum, that's what's got to happen. Yes, sir.
Last time I'll raise my hand, so you won't have to listen
Oh,
to me.
no, I don't mind. It's okay.
We all know it's a no-brainer that when you fix streets, it costs money. Some of the streets really need some fixing. But we have speed bumps appearing all over town. And while I don't dispute that because there's a lot of disrespectful people zooming around here in their cars, where is the justification for putting in a concrete and cobblestone alley on the north side of 159th Street between Sawyer and Holman?
The justification? It was free. It cost anybody in here a dime to do it. It was and we didn't really have a choice. That was a flooding area. That's why they did it. MWRD got involved. So if they're involved, they have water. It was a water issue over there. That's why they did it. But we have, what we have, and all the aldermen have it too. We have like on a grid, and it's done by satellite, geo satellite, whatever, and we know where all the bad streets are, and so we're going after them systematically. It doesn't mean that we won't deviate from that. So if we know where something's, if it's just giving one of us a headache, look, this is the reason why you go to community meetings. Then you get heard, and then it might get moved up the food chain. Maybe it wasn't supposed to, but get involved. I mean, we say this at the block club meetings all the time. It's like somebody else, you know, it doesn't mean we get a pass to do wrong. It just means that we get more consideration why we left our garbage can out unusually, and we don't get ticketed for it. And it's like, give me the ticket, we'll take care of it. You were out of town. Next time, call me, I'll come and take your garbage can. You know, I mean, that's what neighbors do.
Since you brought that up, I got a $50 ticket for bringing my garbage can out about 20 minutes early on a Monday night.
Did you tell Bill?
There's the problem.
No, I paid the ticket because if I contest a ticket, then I gotta take a day off of work and I lose a day's pay.
No, all you gotta do is call Bill up or call one of us up. We all live together, we all have issues.
Well, if you're gonna waive it, why do it in the first place?
Because everybody's not like you that forgot. Other people do it religiously and leave it out. That's why we do it. Because it's more than you and I that live here, and there'll be garbage cans all over here. Trust me. Everybody in here, we might make sense, but we got some neighbors that don't make sense. How many of you got a neighbor that don't make sense? Don't raise your hand. Don't raise their hand. Because I know the whole room is going to go up. Because I see them. Yes, Mr. Joe.
On that note, I appreciate the way that you continue to have the gentleman out there servicing Markham as far as the garbage is concerned.
Yes.
But is it possible, especially in the fourth ward, where we have a lot of new residents in our community, that one of those postcards would be sent out to remind them that they can get extra garbage cans? Because after garbage day, it's ridiculous, the amount of garbage that Homewood disposes of.
So it's flying around?
You know, but
Okay.
as you well know, I walk up and down the street picking up garbage, and it's just, a lot of the residents don't know that they're entitled to a second garbage can at a small fee.
Don't say that too loud. I'm gonna tell you why. Because a lot of people are not being charged for the dumping of that extra garbage can. Homewood will give you a can, but we haven't applied the second charge. So everybody who's got 2 cans, you have to get charged. So it's not gonna happen anytime soon, okay? So don't panic, but that's part of it. I mean, you gotta understand, if we pick it up, we gotta dump it. And there's a dumping fee when that truck goes across the scale, it's got more weight on it because you put 2 cans in there instead of 1. So no big deal. But we will definitely put out notice. But the other thing we're gonna do, we try to encourage the guys when they're done with the main throughs around town, we want them to go in on the side streets a little bit to help you. After the garbage people go through, we're gonna start sending them in over the summer a little bit. Doesn't mean you just toss it out, don't help, but we're gonna contribute and try and help, because again, it does go to some of the neighbors that don't get it. But we're working on, the aldermen are actually working on our neighbors more than ever. That's really where they come into play. Like if something's going on with the resident and we hear it around City Hall, we contact them. So you know what they'll do to some of the neighbors that you may even have an issue with? Hi, I'm Alderman so-and-so. And you know, may go over like a lead balloon like sometimes, but they do it. And they try to engage to try to get them involved, to be a neighbor. You know, I mean, and we'll try and do that. So let us know, because that's the only way sometimes, you know, because we live in a different world now. I mean, my neighbor still has keys to my house. That's not everywhere. I got keys to their house, you know, that kind of thing. Everybody still doesn't, you know, they don't live like that anymore. It's just gotten different, but we will definitely do that. So we're going to be winding up here, yes.
Fire chief seems to be the best common sense person to have in charge. What area do you find that you are deficient in that you would need a manager to help you? Was it finances or legal?
You know, what managers do managers, it's, you know, I've been reasonable because, you know, I'm gonna use myself as a contrast and then go away from me. I've been reasonable because I've lived with all of you. And I have I have a passion, I dream. I drive through somewhere else and like, why can't we do it? Why can't we have it? Why aren't we doing it? You know, so I'm like, well, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us. But then, you know, then you run into reasons why you can't, maybe through legislation or zoning or development or things that these guys always have their wheels going for. And, you know, I'm involved, right now I'm the public safety chair for Southland mayors. And so since it's my forte to know public safety, I sit with all the fire chiefs in the region, all the police chiefs, and, you know, I sit with the mayors over different issues. One of them is, was crime-free housing and different things like that with public safety and different things that policing needs, you know. But there's just a different dynamic when people do things professionally. Just take any of these models of other communities. Just think of a successful community. And if you read any of the material, if it's not too badly printed, you'll see that what the percentages are of these types of governments that do better. Again, I gave you you know, I put it out there. You wouldn't have, definitely in the Southland, because the Southland, if you ask me, you don't have to, but I'll tell you, that the Southland is one of the biggest self-inflicted wounds you'd ever want to find. Nobody came out here to mess up the Southland, and we had it, and we didn't do what we need to do with it. That's being honest. The same way I came here and said, the mayor should not run the city. The mayor should not, this isn't what I should be doing. Make too much money, and I got too much power. That ain't the way, so you think the next guy's gonna do that?
No.
I don't think so either. But it's gonna be your call if you want that. Because I'm gonna tell you, I'm not gonna prescribe to it, because if we can't get this in order and we leave it the way it is, I can't deal with this. I'm not gonna deal with it. I ran saying that I'm either gonna make a difference with Markham or I'm moving. I've been here my whole life. I was born and raised here. And either it was gonna change or I was gone. And we're doing something. I ain't the best, but we're doing something. Yes, sir.
You are the best. There'll never get another mayor like you.
All right,
Well, a team that work with you, and we appreciate that. All your alderman ladies, your
yes.
aldermen, your clerks, everybody.
I agree.
So we appreciate that. On the weekend, you got people working, cleaning up Markham, and you got other cities cleaning up the same way you clean up.
That's true, though. We
make
are
all the
contagious. We
Take
are
a bow.
Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Two-part question. First, to kind of piggyback off of this gentleman was asking. So I think specifically, maybe it'd be good for you to share with us what kind of metrics are you using to judge the performance of management, right? So in the business world, you have something called KPIs, right? And this is where if you have specific areas in the government for which you're looking for improvements in, how are we measuring this is where we're at currently, and then based upon who you implement to improve the process, these are the statistics, these are the metrics, these are the standards for which now we engage and measure, is this person successful as a manager? And then secondly, kind of connected to that, is the kind of the overall strategy that you're looking at for revenue generation in the town. Specifically what I'm getting at is, so you opened up by talking about expanding government, i.e. public works, police departments, but then we also have concerns from the citizens here regarding the actual investment on the infrastructure of our community, being housing, being roads. So I'm wondering how we're going to pay for a bigger police department. Is it a bigger police department needed? What's the justification for that? And or public works. Obviously, we want a safe community, we want things to be cleaned up, but just the order of the investment in terms of how we generate what we need. Because as a person also operating from a business, doing business with the town, I can tell you also that the fees here in town are discouraging in terms of a person wanting to do business, in terms of us permitting lands and that sort of process. And so we need that as an additional tax base, right, to generate revenue. The store is not going to want to come here if there are no residents in town to buy from the store because all the houses have been torn down. So there's kind of, I know there's a lot of dynamics in play, but just kind of broadly speaking, just how are you evaluating a manager? What are the things you're looking to see change specifically here in town? And then secondly, how are we paying for any expansion of government based upon a revenue generation strategy?
You asked a whole lot, you're right. Don't make me feel old. Because I am, but I think we found our manager. You know I had to throw it in there, but you know, measuring, you know, we'll probably have to really, we'll probably have to give you something more than me talking about how we're really, you know, I gave you some generalities of, like when we first started talking about, you know, I started talking about bonds. Well, you know, that might mean nothing to somebody. That means everything if you understand what it really means. I mean, we don't have a junk bond status. That means a lot in a community. I mean, that's how your community is looked at in the business world.
It's a great school, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. So that's that was part of me talking measuring. You know, what we're measuring, where we were and where we're at. You know, so that's just talk. I need to articulate it for, well, definitely for guys like yourself and others that would like to see that measurement, you know, how you do it. You know, so I think that we'll get to that over some of our meetings. So it can really tell you why we need something like this to sustain what we've done. Because I was, you know, as I'm reading material and I'm just the raw person of some manager, right? And I'm looking at all the things that successful communities have done, and we're doing it, but I just know, I said the word bandwidth earlier, I don't have the bandwidth that somebody else is going to have to continue to do it and to do it right. So at some point, we did well having me to start with, but I'm going to run out of fuel over this because, you know, then it's going to show that, well, he's nothing but a fire chief. No wonder the sewer's backed up, you know, because that's what it's going to come to, because the infrastructure, you know, by the way, we're able to afford some of the things we're doing because there was, even if it was done, I don't mean to be disrespectful because I'm not, but I'm lost for words. Even if it was done kind of willy-nilly, there were some kind of things done with Amazon where the stage was set for that. They just couldn't close it. So when we got in office, we were able to close it. And so we're realizing money, that's why we're able to rebate back to the residents. You know, you do that to try, if you can't do something, you know, that's tax money. So you got to you want to try and get your taxes down, well, rebate some tax money back to them while you're doing everything else. While we're building, you know, the additional infrastructure for government to run, but all of it, all that money that we get is kind of, what's the word, it's restricted. So you can't go fix the road with it unless it's in that area, like 162nd by Coca-Cola, old Coca-Cola plant. All that industrial area is going to be brand new over there. All of down Dixie Highway, because there's a TIF on Dixie and the interstate TIF off of Amazon, we're going to be able to improve all the roadway. Well, guess what that means? The people in that area are going to all benefit off of that, because what else happens? The money that we would have had to spend out the general fund all came out of that fund. So that means it can go all over here to do a whole lot of other stuff. And that's why when we had this recent thing where we did this residential TIF and nobody understood it, we had Jevic Trucking when I first got in office. that was in the tip. And if anybody lives, where's Miss Carol? Miss Carol knows, didn't we improve your subdivision?
Yes.
We put fence lines up, it's like a gated community over there. Brand new streets, lights. I wanna move over there, okay? I said, if there's a place I can move, I'd move over there and a couple other, and we did down California. So we're able to take that money, which we're realizing about $7 million, $7 million a year. That helps us somewhere else, but it's paying for police and fire that we don't have to pay for, additional. We're gonna be assigning just to 159th from Dixie Highway to Crawford. There'll be 2 policemen just assigned to 159th. So when you go to the gas station, you go in peace without, can I borrow $1? Because these single ladies and some of the seniors can't go to the store in peace and get them out the shopping center. You know, we got to shag them out. They got to go somewhere else. Some of them, the police give them a ride and take them to, some of them just trying to get home. And so we'll do that, just so, don't come back, we'll tell them, we'll give you a ride home, don't come back. But we have to try to, so I use money out the TIF was the point, as that TIF was dying, I took all over in Canterbury and I cleaned up Canterbury like no tomorrow. Didn't I, Miss Carol?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you know, so, and then, some people, and I get it, they didn't understand what we were trying to do. That was my first experience with being able to check with the TIF expert to utilize money in residential. I get to the Illinois Municipal League, we all go down there, where's Wanda, all the way to Wanda. We go down there and we find out that they're doing residential TIFs all over the state. So, it's about us trying to think of it. But see, again, I'm telling you, I can't continue to do that because we go to the municipal league where we learn to do more, but a manager already knows. Manager would have, so we did good and it worked out for us, and we all still prospered, but a manager's gonna be that much quicker. So I missed some of the last part of your question. I know you said something about measurement, you said something about how we would sustain the cost of police, fire, or that kind of stuff.
It seems like one of the revenue strategies for you is again, the code enforcement, more ticketing, higher building department fees, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just wondering, where else are we, because there's a pitfall, as you mentioned, with the.
I don't like doing that.
That's what's happening.
I know, but I hate that. And I don't mind saying it, and I'm not saying it because I went to school with David, your dad. I'm not saying this because I know you and I went to school with you. You all do good work, and I'm sorry that you get subjected to what you get subjected to, but there's some that do no good work. You all have done some of the best work in this community. And again, it's not because I know who you are. I treated you like anybody else, didn't I? But I have complimented where compliment was deserved, and you all have the highest compliment for me because I'm telling you, I've seen everybody else's work and how they behave with this community, and you all have never done that. So I'm only hoping that we can do better for you and better together for you in the future, and that's how I really would like to see this. But that is not what has happened, and so some of those people, you shouldn't have been you all. They had some of that coming, because they have no regard. I mean this now, so you don't have to take it some kind of way, because I'm gonna say it some kind of way. There's some of them that don't care about anybody in this room, zero. They have no respect, no regard. They say, well, this is just Markham, you doing all this, why are you doing this? You making us do that, this ain't nothing but Markham. What you think this is, Orland or something? Y'all doing all this, so you doing too much over here, this Markham. That's how they talk. I just memorize how they talk. I'm not tolerating. Okay, we're going.
Mayor, how is a manager chosen?
We're gonna go through a process with that. But we're not there. We got a long way to go. We gotta get to a referendum and we'll have more conversation. We're gonna close this out, but if anybody has additional questions, for all the Lady Hamptons here, Alderman Bertrand's here, We do want to encourage you to come out to our Black History program, grab one of the flyers. Jesse Jackson Jr. is going to be our keynote speaker at our program this year, and we have other people who will be here as well to celebrate Black History, so please come out. This is on the 28th? 28th. So if you got any questions, thank you for coming out. Sorry we went over a little bit. We're here if you got any additional questions. Yes, thank you.